Yo, what up? All right, welcome everybody to this week's distance learning. This is Mr. Paisley for the week of May 18th. We're moving right along here with the school year. We only have a few weeks left before the end of the year, so this is kind of down to the home stretch. Those of you that are really trying to bring your grade up, especially those who are on the borderline with a low grade, should really make sure you complete these activities so you can get your grade up and you can have a good grade for the end of the year. So it's really important to finish strong. All right, so here are this week's learning activities for Mr. Paisley's classes. If you have me for Drama and English 2, as usual, you only need to do this once. We're going to try and mainstream this, streamline this for everybody. But please turn in the assignment in Google Classroom for both English 2 and Drama. Make a copy, submit to both. The few students that I have for both of these classes, a couple of them are doing a good job. You guys are pretty much submitting to both classrooms, which is great. So keep up the good work. Please submit all three of these activities on the one Google Doc as normal, which is attached. It's now a Google Doc. You don't have to convert anything. There are 3 separate sections on the Google Doc. This work is going to be due by this Friday, May 22nd at midnight as usual. All right, so just to show you what the Google Doc looks like, this is the Google Doc. Okay, as I said, it's already a Google Doc. You don't have to convert it. You're just going to write right on this. Okay, there's only 3 assignments this week. There's not 4 or 5, so it's a little bit less than the couple of past weeks. All right, so this week you guys are going to be learning about allegory. This is something we would have studied if we would have been in school. We would have studied Animal Farm by George Orwell, which is an allegory. Unfortunately, we're not in school, so I'm still going to show you guys some allegory, but I'm going to break it down into smaller segments. You're going to study 3 allegories. You're going to study the Sneetches, you're going to study the Giving Tree, and you're going to look at Edgar Allan Poe's The Masque of the Red Death. So what is an allegory? An allegory is a story that has 2 meanings. It has a literal meaning on the surface and a figurative or symbolic meaning underneath. In short, it's a story that has a double meaning or parallel meanings. So here's a quick example of allegory, all right, or a definition of allegory. Again, allegory, it's when a story has a double meaning. There is a literal meaning of the story on the surface, and there is a symbolic or secondary meaning of the story which is underneath, which is the allegory. It's kind of like symbolism in a way. We did not study Animal Farm this year, but Animal Farm is a great example of an allegory. So literally when you read Animal Farm on the surface, it's about animals that rise up and take over a farm, animals that can think and talk, and they rise up and they overthrow the farmer, Farmer Jones, and they take over the farm. That's what the story seems to be about. It almost seems like it's a children's story in a way. But underneath, it's an allegory. It has a secondary meaning. Underneath, it's really about the Russian Revolution and the rise of the Soviet Union. So in order to understand the story and understand the allegory, you need to understand that it's really about the Russian Revolution. So that's allegory. It's pretty simple. We're just going to look at one basic concept this week, allegory. All right, so the first assignment, what you're going to do is you're going to watch the classic Dr. Seuss video called The Sneetches. Okay, it's a great little video. It's about 12 minutes. It's a really good video. Even as an adult, I like it. Okay, so you guys are going to watch that. You are going to, after watching the video, you are going to, let me show you this, it'll be a little bit easier. So after you watch the Sneetches, what you're going to do is you're going to explain what is the literal meaning of the story. Okay, what's it about on the surface? What is the figurative meaning? What is the story really about underneath? And it might be obvious after you watch it, especially to understand that this video was done in the late 1950s. It was after World War II, so that might give you a hint. Okay, who might the star belly Sneetches represent? Who might the plain belly Sneetches symbolize? And after you answer these questions and think about the allegory, you're going to answer this question in a constructed response, which is just one paragraph, 5 to 7 sentences. What is the allegory or underlying meaning of the video? Use examples from the video to support your answer. All right, so that's the Sneetches. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to watch an animated version of the picture book by Shel Silverstein called The Giving Tree. Now, many of you may have already read this as a kid. It's a great story. It's a classic. So I have a link. It's about 5.5 minutes. It's great. It goes through the whole book. It's animated. It's called The Giving Tree. So you're going to watch The Giving Tree. All right. After you watch, you're going to do assignment number 2. What is the literal meaning of the story on the surface? What's it about literally? Okay, it's about a tree that's giving to a child. Okay, so what's it literally about? Now, underneath, what is the figurative or symbolic meaning? What do you think, or who do you think the tree might represent? Okay, the tree isn't just a tree in the story. The tree has a symbolic meaning. Who do you think that tree symbolizes? All right, so after you watch the video, you think about the figurative meaning, the literal meaning, what might be some symbol in the story. You're going to answer the question. Once again, you're going to use the strategy RACE. Restate, answer, cite, explain. You're going to answer the following constructed response in one paragraph, just one, 5 to 7 sentences. What is the allegory or underlying meaning of the video? Use examples from the video to support your answer. Okay? So these two are pretty basic. They're pretty easy. The Sneetches and The Giving Tree, they're pretty easy, okay? Which leads us to the harder assignment here, which is a short story that's normally done in 9th or 10th grade. This year, actually, this is in our textbook in 10th grade. Okay, assignment number 3, The Allegory and the Mask of the Red Death. So you're going to read The Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe, and I have a link here, okay? This is actually from the Edgar Allan Poe Museum in, I believe, in Virginia, I think, because there's one in Philadelphia. This is not the one in Philadelphia. But here is a YouTube video which gives you a reading. The guy in the museum here, he reads the story for you. He gives you some background information. Okay? So you can listen to the video. You can listen to him read. You can watch the video. And here's the story itself. Okay? It's The Mask of the Red Death. It's a classic story. All right, so it's not very long, but you're going to read the story and listen. And then when you're finished, you're going to answer some questions. All right, you're going to answer, what is the literal meaning of the story on the surface? Now, I know with what's going on today can be a little bit maybe anxiety-provoking, but that's not the point, okay? We're not trying to provoke anxiety. We're trying to look at this, but in a way, it is applicable to what is going on in today's society. What is the literal meaning of the story? Okay, what is the figurative meaning of the story? What's it about underneath? What could be a secondary meaning? And I want you to answer these 2 questions. Who might the people safely locked inside the castle represent? And who might the people locked outside the castle symbolize? Okay? And we're going to look at this in a particular way today through a certain lens, and this is the question you're going to answer. You're going to use the RACE strategy, restate, answer, cite, explain, to answer the following constructed response, once again, in just one paragraph, 5 to 7 sentences. How could the Mask of the Red Death serve as an allegory for the COVID-19 lockdowns? Think about those Americans whose jobs are considered essential, those Americans who are still getting paid, receiving health benefits, and are able to provide for their families, as opposed to those whose jobs are deemed non-essential, those Americans who are not getting paid, have lost their insurance, and can no longer support or provide for their families. So if you look at this and you think about those questions and you look at this as an allegory for the lockdown, I want you guys to try and answer that question. All right? Just think about it along those lines. There's more than one answer, but how could the Mask of the Red Death serve as an allegory for the COVID-19 lockdown? And again, I'm not trying to give this to you guys to provoke any kind of anxiety, because I know there's, it's a difficult situation. But if you look at this in terms of just an allegory, in terms of figuratively, in terms of the classes of people, you have a certain class of people on the inside, you have a class of people on the outside. You have people who, during this lockdown, have the benefits of still getting paid, and they're still comfortable, and they're still able to, patiently wait. And then there's other people who are urgently out of a job and they don't have insurance anymore. They can't provide for their families. They're not getting paid. They don't have the same amount of, time to wait and to be patient, because it's a more of an urgent situation. So that's kind of the frame of reference you're going to kind of look at the story. Do the best you can with this. If you do find yourself having any kind of anxiety about this, again, this is something that just do your best. All right. The first two stories and videos are examples of allegory. They're more children's stories. They're easier. They're kind of more fun. They're more upbeat. And then the last one is more of a serious look at some of the things that Poe might have been saying in the 1840s and how we could look at that in today's society in 2020. All right, so do your best with this. Again, you're going to answer all of these on this Google Doc, submit everything in one doc. It is going to be due by Friday. It's going to be due by Friday at midnight. This says the 15th. Let me make a quick switcheroo on that. 22nd. Okay, again, if you have any questions, you can always email me through Google, text me through Google. This has been working very well. I want to give kudos to the kids who've been doing the assignments. It's been working well. Those that have been doing their work, your grades are steadily improving. So keep up the good work. Try and finish strong. We only have a couple more weeks. And good news, I've just been reading in the newspaper that next year, it looks like next school year, we're going to be back at school. So we're going to be able to, be back with each other, have a good school year, but let's finish up this last part of this school year strong.